This Soonerscoop.com video is streaming in crystal clear 4K resolution on YouTube thanks to Enjoy Vision in Oklahoma City. Don't miss a moment on or off the field. Make every day a highlight with LASIK at Enjoy Vision. Enjoy Vision. This is where Sooner Scoop LASIK.
Hello and welcome back. Eddie Radosovich, George Stoya, Josh McCuistion here on the Soonerscoop.com YouTube channel. Welcome back to another Monday. The season goes on despite a embarrassing performance in the second half on Saturday. 23-6, the final score in Dallas at the Cotton Bowl. It was miserable. We all did survive, though, I think. Welcome in, Josh. How are we?
Guys, good. A blend of the OU Texas weekend, Tiffany's birthday, a little kind of a chaotic up and down weekend in the McCuistion household, but yeah, excited to talk about this game.
I am too. I'm very excited to talk about it. If doing so on morning radio wasn't enough this morning for 3 hours. George, how are we?
I'm great. Look, a lot of football left this season. I feel like I'm going to be the optimistic one. I've rewatched the game a couple times. It was bad, not good. I think there's a lot that can be fixed, though. I don't think it's just the end of the world.
Interesting. I was reading on online this morning that the season should be over and everybody should be fired.
Are you the one that posted that?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I'm the spirit of George is painting this light like I'm some kind of dark cloud right now over the city of Norman, and it's not the actual clouds that are over Norman because it is raining today in Norman. And I like that because it's 73 degrees and it's much cooler than what it was on Saturday down at the Cotton Bowl.
Very hot.
Where it
always happens
the
this way.
center of the sun. I
happens.
said it last week. I predicted I was good on one prediction. I knew that it was going to be kind of shitty out, and by that I mean hot, and then it was going to be nice. So before we get into the disaster, let us tell you about our good friends over at homefieldapparel.com. All you got to do is go to homefieldapparel.com, premium collegiate apparel brand based in Indianapolis, officially licensed apparel clothing for the vintage design doer. How about that, George?
Shout out. I love Home Field, man. They got a bunch of really good stuff over there. My wife, Erin, she was actually wearing one of the hats, Home Field hats, to the game on Saturday.
Very good. Got to burn it, but just buy another one.
Yeah, she does have to burn it.
Go to homefieldapparel.com. You can get a crew neck. You can get the bomber jacket, coach's jackets, hats, everything that you need as Oklahoma heads out to Columbia, South Carolina this weekend. Homefieldapparel.com. Thank you to the fine folks out of Indianapolis.
Got to get some basketball gear. It's coming up.
Basketball, yes, it is. OU preseason 12th in the SEC as it came out today.
That's crazy.
I think they're going to be better than that.
I think they're going to exceed expectations.
We'll fire up the hoops report here before too long. We're about, 8 days away from the start of the Thunder season, a week from tomorrow night, and then obviously the OU men's basketball season, as well as the women, will be getting going here in about less than a month's time. All right. Let's rip the Band-Aid off. Let's start John Mateer. Obviously, there was a lot of questions on what his status was going to be. I know that we kind of swung back and forth, even as late as Saturday morning when driving over to the Cotton Bowl, like, what the hell's going to happen? John Mateer did play 20 for 38, 202 yards, 3 interceptions, and no touchdowns. Oklahoma goes touchdownless in the Cotton Bowl for the third time in 4 years. Kill me! But it wasn't good. That was not the John Mateer I think that we had seen, obviously pre-surgery. Josh, let's start with you. I guess let's just go with how surprising was that? And on the flip side of that, I kind of just feel like an idiot for thinking that he was not going to be able to practice and then just show up to the Cotton Bowl against a really good defense and perform. What say you, Mr. McCuistion?
Yeah, Eddie, I'm with you. Like, I think there's this element of like where I was surprised, and I thought, okay, he'll come out there, but you look back at it now, kind of knowing what he actually took part in over the last few weeks. Guys, I don't care. South Carolina's defense is not particularly special this week. That's going to be challenging even against them to just roll out and, just go play. Like, it doesn't really work like that. And at the same time, I don't love the conversation of, well, maybe they shouldn't have played him. He was their best option. Let's not, I don't want there to be any, I don't think there should be any illusions about that. He was their best chance to win that game, in my opinion. Now, he was rusty. The thing that's funny to me is I thought in the first half, like some of his shorter passes, he had a couple where I was like, that's really on point. That's really good. And I thought he was throwing the ball pretty well. And then as the game wore on, I don't know if it was fatigue. I don't know if, if he started to get a little confused with some of the stuff Texas was throwing at him. But he didn't look as sharp to me in the second half. And guys, for me in the fourth quarter, I kind of thought, okay, this is where he was great against Michigan. This is where he was great against Auburn. He's going to flip a switch here. And obviously that just didn't happen.
Not good. And, I think that there's going to be a lot that is lost in terms of translation of this game, because you look at the final score and you think, it wasn't that close, when in reality, they did have the ball 2 times in the fourth quarter, down 1 score, George. And, I think for us in the instant reaction, we talked about it with Carrie Burdock after the game on the Eskridge Lexus postgame podcast as well. Just a ton of misses and missing guys not seeing the ball or not seeing the field well enough to be able to deliver the football.
Yeah, and like that throw, that first interception he throws there to Canick. Now, Canick's kind of open on that play. I don't hate the read, but if he just looks to his left, Isaiah Satania is running down the seam wide open. And there was a lot of that. There was plays where it looked like Mateer kind of had locked in on a certain receiver before the play even happened and made a bad read, and there's guys open all over the field. And we just haven't seen that from him this year. I don't know if that's because he didn't practice this week. I think some of it, maybe he didn't trust his arm as much, like especially on balls further down the field. I mean, Josh said it. He was accurate on some of the short game stuff, especially early. He was not accurate, 15 yards or further down the field, for most of the game. So I don't know if that's the injury, if that's just not practicing. But there was opportunities in this game. I went back and watched the all 22 on it, and there's plays where they're scheming guys open down the field, and Mateer just misses them. That's another one. He's throwing it to Satania there, but he's got another guy open on the other side. He just doesn't see him. This one too, I think he had Canick open early, and he's just got to throw it. And it just seemed like he was late on some of his reads, wasn't seeing it. And again, that's missing practice. And I think the concern, Eddie, is that John Mateer? Is that who he is? Because We've seen him be inaccurate before. We've seen him miss guys before, but not to this level. So you have to think he'll improve there. I think also it's just like, I don't want to just come up with excuses for the guy, but he hadn't practiced in 3 weeks. He comes, plays in the game, and it's the biggest game he's ever played in. It's the biggest atmosphere he's ever played in. It's one of the best defenses in the country. Texas deserves a lot of credit. They played extremely well defensively. I thought they had a really good game plan. They dared OU to run the ball, and they can't. And we'll get to the run game in a second. But I think that he was thrown in a very tough situation, and you just have to hope that the guy that we saw before the injury comes back. I'm very interested if we get to talk to Mateer this week. What's the practice schedule look like this week versus what it was, leading into the Texas game?
It's a good point here, and we did talk to John Mateer. He arrived on the podium along with Brent Venables, Isaiah Satania, Kobe McKenzie. You can watch that entire post-game audio or video and audio, the entire press conference after the game. You can see that here on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel. But here is John Mateer just kind of talking about the weirdness that has been 17 days removed from surgery.
Yeah, I've learned a lot, about myself and about this journey over the past 17 days, and everything was leading up to my preparation for this game and getting back for this game. And physically, I did well. I was dedicated to it and disciplined to it, but mentally, or whatever you want to say, I wasn't prepared, and that's my fault. Yeah, I said the pain level was nothing. I mean, there's no excuse. I was ready to go physically, but mentally, I just didn't perform. My eyes weren't as good as they needed to be, and when your quarterback doesn't play good football, it's hard to win in this league, and that's what happened. But honored to play in the game and get to see the atmosphere, but I just didn't play good enough.
John, what was your preparation like this week? I'm sure you were trying to be aggressive in getting back, but how much did you even get to maybe practice this week leading up to the game?
I got to practice a good amount. And it has nothing to do with how I performed. I was prepared, and I studied film the same way. I just didn't come out ready to play.
That was John Mateer after the game. George, it certainly looked like he was a guy that had not practiced and had not done a whole lot going into the game last week. That can be debated just in terms of the attack. For sure, certainly seemed like you needed him out there, but at the same time, maybe probably took a couple steps back with somebody that hadn't practiced a whole lot over the last month.
Yeah, and I'm with Josh. I still think it was the best option. I know a lot of people are like, well, why didn't they just play Michael Hawkins? I mean, you watch the first half, OU was moving the ball.
Sure.
They just didn't take advantage of some opportunities, and Mateer missed on some things and stuff that, I don't think it was the injury as much as just not practicing. So, and Brent, I know that John said after the game that he was able to practice some. I don't believe that completely. I think he didn't want to come up with an excuse for how he played. Brent Venables said on his show on Sunday with Toby Rowland that he did not practice any good-on-good work, which we kind of laughed at. It was very clear that he needed to do some in practice because I think he took a lot of mental reps last week and not a lot of physical reps. And as a quarterback, it's just really tough to play that way.
Josh, when you hear that, does that add up to kind of what you saw? That he was a guy that certainly looked like he had to been able to do a whole lot over the last 3 weeks, obviously with the surgery.
Yeah, because there were moments like the Kanik interception where he tries to hit him. He just looked hurried, guys. Because, you look at that pocket, it's clean. He's got time. There's no reason to force that throw. And like George said, he's got Satania just streaking down the middle of the field. And, guys, I don't know if it's a touchdown, but it's a 30, 40-yard play if he goes in that direction. And he just doesn't look that way at all. He locks onto Kanik the whole time, who has a triangle of defenders around him. And, again, with a really good throw, he can make that throw. It kind of reminds me of the one, was that against Auburn, where he kind of dropped it right over the linebackers? One of the best throws John made all year. I'm trying to remember who it was against, where he hits Kanik just kind of in front of the safeties, behind the linebackers. It doesn't really matter who it was against, but he's capable of making that throw. But I thought that kind of showed you the sharpness. Like because that throw wasn't anywhere close to where it needed to be. And, again, like, he looked like a guy that had some rust. And when you add in that the team can't get anything going on the ground, and like George said, we're going to talk about that and kind of theories on that, or how they can fix it. But there is such an element of they leaned so heavily on him, and I don't think we gave that enough credit. The first 4 or 5 games was just how much, if he doesn't go, that offense has nothing going on right now. And so I think when he was shaky, it just – guys, I don't know about you, but it felt like the whole offense was like, okay, we got our guy. Here we go. It's going to get rolling. And there was kind of that belief in the first half. And then when it wasn't really clicking, it was close. There's a miss here, a miss there. It felt like doubt kind of crept in, like, maybe we're not where we need to be with this.
And to me, that doubt started – still in the first half, even though Oklahoma walked up the tunnel at halftime with a 6-3 lead. You come up with a really good red zone defensive stand. We'll get to the defense here in a second. Oklahoma gets the ball back with 4 minutes left, and it seems like they're off. They're going to find an answer to the field goal that made it 6-3, and all of a sudden, the end of the first half happened. And Josh, we spent a lot of time on it in the Eskridge Lexus postgame podcast. What the hell? What the hell was that? I thought that you just basically handed some momentum to Texas despite forcing two turnovers in the first half and still finding themselves down on the scoreboard while walking up the tunnel.
Guys, that was one of those games where you walk out at half and you're like, how is OU winning this game by 3? They've dominated that first half. Like, they were the better team. I didn't think it was that close. And you kind of were like, well, unless Texas can really see something, which now we all know they did in the second half, OU may win this game 6-3. Like, that's what it felt like to me. And I don't know about you guys, but at like midfield, I kind of thought this is going to go to 13-3 at half. OU's going to go score here. They looked like they had a little rhythm. Mateer made a couple of throws. I think that was one of the short throws I was talking about where he just kind of hits in a tight window there. But, it was – again, it was like they couldn't make up their mind what they wanted to do. You hear coaches talk about this stuff where they'll talk about, I think it was Lane Kiffin was talking to Kirk Herbstreit a couple weeks ago where he's like, okay, we're talking about it 2 or 3 plays in advance. Like, if we get to third and this, we want to be over on the right hash and we want to run this. If we're on the left, we're going to do something different. Like, it's not the play. They're 2, 3, 4 plays out in front talking about, okay, if we get into this situation, this is what we're going to do. And it was like Oklahoma wasn't having that conversation. Like, they were just like, well, let's see what we've got. And then, the interception everybody's going to freak out about. I think Deion Burks broke off his route for some inexplicable reason. Now, does he make that play? I don't know. But I think to his credit, for one of the few times all game, John Mateer was giving his guy a chance to go make a play. And again, Burks broke it off right as the throw, and there was never an opportunity to make that play. But the decision-making, George, you and I were talking about this before the show. And again, I'll own it. I don't want to put something on you. But to me, this is the worst clock management we've seen under Brent Venables, and we've seen some pretty bad ones.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think, the worst. And I'm trying to think back of some of the ones he's had. And he's had some good game management moments. Like, it's one thing I think I said this on one of our, either the instant reaction or pod. It's been a while since we've had to bring up game management with Brent Venables.
It just always comes up after losses.
Right. But I mean, the wins this year have been great. The game management has been awesome. Sure. Auburn, it was fantastic. Michigan, they had a great, before the end of the half, they had a great drive that they used their timeouts perfectly into the game situation. They went on the 8-minute drive. So they've had good moments. I think they just totally melted in this situation. And like Josh said, I don't think they knew what they wanted to do. I think that they were playing for the field goal, which makes no sense in this game. Because like if you get up 13-3, and this is my point on X. I tweeted this, and people were like, "Oh, well, like a field goal doesn't change."
Well, it's a very unserious place out there.
Yeah, I know, but it's just like it's not about the field goal; it's about the aggression. Like you have to be aggressive in this game, and especially a game that if you can go up, even a field goal there, and that's the part that makes like it's so mind-boggling. Is you already screwed it up, and then you say, "Well, we'll take a shot to the end zone now," which I don't mind. It needs to be more of a competitive play than that. And Burks, whatever. I don't know if it's Burks' fault or Mateer's fault. Throw the ball out of bounds, take the points, and even 9-3, you feel a hell of a lot better than 6-3 and having just thrown an interception. And so it just, I don't think they knew what they wanted to do. And then they were like, oh crap, we're actually close to the end zone. Let's take a shot. And then at that point, it's like, just take the points, just get your points and get to halftime. It was really stupid.
I want to continue this conversation. Yeah. Here is Brent Venables and Ben Arbuckle just kind of talking about the blunder, and then we'll come back with some more thoughts on the end of the first half.
Yeah, we wanted to throw it into the end zone, and if we had somebody that was open, we had a double post route there, and I think it was Burks was open early. And threw it a little bit late, and we wanted to get it out of bounds there and take the points. But we wanted to take a shot to the end zone, didn't want them to be able to get the ball back, and wanted to, if we didn't get that touchdown, then we wanted to kick.
Yeah, it's a huge moment at the end of the half. I mean, you talk about winning the middle eight, and we had an opportunity right there to at least probably get 3 points, and we didn't do that. And so that was a bad deal right there.
Here's the other thing. What are we talking about leaving time for Texas to get the ball back? You had played exceptionally well
why are
defensively.
you worried? Why are you worried about that? That's not something.
That almost just seems like a little bit of a cop out.
And you have to hope that they look back and be like, what were we doing there? Like, be aggressive, trust your quarterback to make a play and try and go and score to put this game away. And that's the part, like, it's not just the end of the half. They had other opportunities, like the second possession of the game.
Sure.
Like, you get the ball, you're up 3-0. You had the good opening drive. They got the ball back on their own 45, like great field position, and they get it across midfield, and then they just totally lose momentum. Like, they had so many moments in the first half where they outplayed Texas for the first half of the game, and they had a chance to put this thing away. And if you're up 13-3 in the second half,
it's a lot different than
forces
6-3.
Texas to have to trust Arch Manning to throw the ball down the field. And Arch played great. We'll get to that. I thought he played really well in moments. They didn't ask him to do a whole lot, but they didn't have to. And I told you this. Texas's game plan. Sark talked about the end of the first half after the game, and he basically said, we played to basically wait for OU to screw up. Is what he was saying. He's like, we just wanted to suck the timeout and take what's given to us. That was the way Texas was going to win. Josh always says there's more paths for Oklahoma to win, and there were in this game. And Texas had one path, and they played it perfectly. They waited for OU to screw up, and OU just screwed up multiple times.
Wow. Josh, any closing thoughts on just the end of the first half there?
Well, and George, it's a great point because OU screwed up multiple times and got away with it. Texas had to wait for OU to screw up multiple times before they could make it happen. So it was just shockingly bad. And guys, at some point, you've got it. Like, we know this defense is special. Show some faith in them.
Yeah.
Let your offense go run the damn offense, do whatever it's going to do, and then the defense is going to be fine. You don't have to baby them anymore. Like, those guys are really good. They're playing good football. They were against an overmatched offense that, guys, I mean, what did, like, I want to say somebody had showed me the stat. Like, 40% of Texas's offense in the entire game came on 3 plays. Like, it just, there wasn't much happening there. So why you had to pretend like there was this fear of Texas, man, put your best foot forward. Worry about what your offense needs to do instead of worrying about covering up a defense that doesn't need any cover.
Georgie boy, you need to shave.
Yeah, I know. Well,
you need to shave.
Yeah, I do. I've been shaving most days, but I do need to shave probably today.
Well, it's a Monday, and we're still easing into the week, but let us tell you about our good friends over at Harry's, and that's what they will do is you can go to Harry's and you can buy a razor.
I already have one, but
well,
for those people out there, you need to use it. You need to get one because I use Harry's all the time.
You don't want me to be baby faced. You don't want to see that.
I think it would look great. It would be more professional. But I do think that Harry's is great. I've been using it for years. Their razors are super good. I love all the other stuff too, the skincare stuff that they provide. So. Very affordable, and like I said, I use it pretty much every single day.
The Harry's Plus, the heaviest razor handle ever. Have you noticed that?
I have.
Does it help?
Yeah, it does. Okay. I mean, that's why I look so good.
I like that. For a limited time, our listeners can get the Harry's Plus trial set for only $10 at harrys.com/SoonerScoop. That is harrys.com/SoonerScoop. This set includes all new Harry's Plus razor, 1 refined 5-blade cartridge, a 2-ounce foaming shave gel, and a travel cover to protect your blades on the go, like
That's
we
nice.
will be
Yep.
when we're headed out to Columbia, South Carolina this weekend.
Yep. I'll be bringing my Harry's razor so I look good on Saturday.
Very, very good. Just go to harrys.com/SoonerScoop to get your Harry's Plus trial set today for just $10, which is an extremely affordable razor set.
And it lasts you a long time.
That's
the thing. That's what I would say is like you can get one and it'll last you a while.
All right, very good. All right, there was a lot of bad that went with Oklahoma offensively on Saturday, and now becomes the fun part. Josh, halfway through the season, it would appear that Oklahoma just, not only can they not run the ball, it seems like it is DEFCON 1 in terms of finding something from a run game standpoint. The tight ends were awful. I know that coming out of the Cotton Bowl, it's been kind of a point that to be made. Maybe you should just go spread. Just completely go spread. Let John Mateer throw the ball all over the yard. Let's talk offensive line. Then we'll get to the unfortunate group that is the tight end unit in terms of run game blocking. But from an offensive line standpoint, Derek Simmons goes down in the first quarter. Luke Baklenko has to come in. Just kind of your thoughts overall of OU from an offensive line standpoint as we look at the Derek Simmons injury right there, with just a weird deal.
Well, Eddie, and I've given you credit multiple times. I thought you said it really well in the post-game pod. This is the stuff that happens when you don't move anybody off the line of scrimmage.
That's right.
You've got bodies all around your feet and your legs, and it's just a big-ass pile of people. And when that happens, people are going to get hurt. Like you're going to get rolled up on accidentally. And guys, if you go back and look at that play, I didn't see it while it was running here live on the show. I don't know if you could tell, but like the guy just barely stumbles and falls into it's just a fluke accident, and it looked bad.
Here it is,
Derek
Josh.
Simmons could put no weight. Yeah. Like you just see it. Like there's nothing to this play. It's completely over. There's nothing malicious from the Texas player. He just loses his footing for a second and then ends up on the back of Derek Simmons' leg. Like, see, it just, again, just lost his balance. And who knows how long Derek Simmons is going to be out. But, guys, that's a huge loss. I want to say I thought Baklenko performed better than I thought he would. When he went in, it was like, oh, this could be real bad. And I thought he did okay. It wasn't great. It's not what you want. You want Logan Howland to get back as quick as he possibly can to play, or Jacob Sexton or Jake Taylor or whoever it's going to be. You need somebody else there. But I thought he filled in pretty admirably in a tough spot. At the same time, the whole group, guys, they can't move anybody off the ball. They just can't. I don't. the thing I struggle with, and I know we're all to this point in this conversation, certainly we know where the fans are on our board on it. Did Bill Bedenbaugh change his style, or is the scheme making it difficult for him to do the things that were once hallmarks of his offensive line, where they were physical, they were nasty? The guys, the one that drove me crazy, and I've already talked about it in the Idiot this morning, the Hero Canoe play where he hits Mateer low, the fact that there's no offensive line reaction, like those, Ben Powers and Drew Samia might have been thrown out of the game for that situation. Like, for OU to be where they are, I can't understand it. I can't explain it. I don't know how you fix it. But again, the only thing, and Eddie, you touched on it, the only thing they had success with was when they did spread everybody out, and they had a light box to look at, 5 on 5, and they could kind of block that up. And I kind of think that's where you got to go.
30 rushing attempts on Saturday for a paltry 48 yards net, 1.6 yards per carry, which is just a shocking number. And especially when you go into the cliche line of whoever runs the ball the best at the Cotton Bowl usually wins the game. Yeah, that happened. 136-48 on the day, George.
Yeah, it's not good. They're not getting much of any push.
Excuse my French. It's effing terrible. I don't know what we can say on YouTube.
I disagree that it's effing terrible in terms of the offensive line. I think that the run game is effing terrible.
No, yeah. That's what I'm talking about. 1.6 yards per carry.
Yes, that's
is
bad.
Effing terrible.
That's really bad. I think that it's not all the offensive line. I know that they're the easy target. I don't know what you've seen, Josh, but they do a pretty good job of just like getting in the way of people. Like they're not, they whiff every once in a while, and that happens. Sure. Michael Fasusi had some whiffs on Colin Simmons. That's going to happen. Canoe, he's a good player. He beat some guys every once in a while. I think a lot of the issue, in my opinion, yes, they need to be more aggressive, all of that, is the concepts. You're asking your tight ends. I don't know if we want to get into the tight end group.
No, we can throw them all in there.
Oftentimes, when they are running the ball with two tight ends or even one tight end in line, it is the tight end that is getting beat, and it is usually blowing everything else up. And that's an issue. They got to stop doing that. Like, just stop running those plays. Your tight ends can't block. They've been exposed. I think it was Gabe said on the Oklahoma Breakdown, it's arguably the worst tight end group in all of Power 4. I don't know the tight ends for other groups, but I believe that because they're so bad at blocking. So I think they need to change that. And in terms of the offensive line, I think Josh is right. Did Bill Bedenbaugh change his approach? Is it the scheme? Because we've seen this now really since Lincoln Riley left. And so that makes me wonder, is it the scheme? Because it feels like they are doing more stuff to just cover guys up than firing off the ball. And I don't know if that's a schematic thing or what that is. I still think that they're pretty good in pass protection. I know they gave up, 5 sacks? They only gave up 1 in the first half, and it was actually a quarterback draw. It shouldn't have been tallied as a sack. And then I think they gave up 2 or 3 on the last couple drives of the game when it was clear that Texas, they're having to throw the ball. Mateer's got to get rid of it. All that BS. But I think that the tight end group is a much larger problem than the offensive line at this point. And they got to get healthy on the offensive line. Like they need Jacob Sexton back. He needs to get back. I don't know when that is, but he needs to be back. They need Logan Allen to get back. They need Derek Simmons. Hopefully it's not super serious. We'll see. But that's been a large problem too. Is like Luke Baklenko should never have to go in the game. Daniel Akinkumi played in this game because
he was in on the 33-yarder. They got called back on the Carson Kent.
That's the part for me that I don't understand. The offensive line, yeah, they need to be more aggressive. How come they're the only group the last couple of years that continually gets injured? Like what I don't know.
They can't move anybody.
Yeah, like it's that's the problem. So all of this to say, OU's got a lot of problems. Offensive line is one of them. I just think the tight end group is a much larger problem when it comes to what they're doing schematically in the run game.
Josh, when you look at just what Oklahoma is trying to do offensively, it all comes down to a team that can't run the football, and you're not going to be able to do a whole lot more with John Mateer. He could be Baker Mayfield back there, but if you're not being able to run the football, I mean, what the hell? What gives here? What say you? Make me feel better about this situation. It's been 5 years since OU's been able to run the football well.
Well, they ran it well Brent's first year. Eric Gray had
oh, Lord.
Eric Gray was really good.
Okay, on another shit offense.
Yeah,
but
there
we'll
are
continue.
people on the board that are,
and I'm not. I know they were better than what they are right now.
Yeah.
there are people on the board right now, Eddie, who are going to clip this and send it to me because I've been fighting this fight all week. The idea that what we've seen the last 2 years is in any way comparable from what we saw from like 2020 to 2023, it's not the same thing. It's like, did they have problems at times in that era? Yeah, sure. They weren't the 2017, 2018 group, no doubt about it. The last two units have had glaring problems. Like, I mean, just really, it didn't matter who they were playing. They couldn't run the ball. That's a different conversation than, oh, they ran into Alabama and couldn't run the ball. That's not the same thing. So, but what I'll say is it's kind of twofold. Yes, they are not lining up and pushing people off the ball. And again, I don't know if people want to believe Bill Bedenbaugh's just lost it and lost his fastball. I'm not at practice. I can't speak to that. I don't know. I struggle with that idea a little bit, that you just suddenly don't, like, all the things that the things you knew about Bill Bedenbaugh just suddenly don't exist. I struggle with that. At the same time, when your offense is not hitting anything deep, you are so compacted in what you can do. Like, sure, okay, you can throw the ball, but it's all within 15 yards of the line of scrimmage. Like, you've just got so many bodies massed right in that little area that it's really hard to do anything. So if you can't stretch the field to back safeties off, you can't get the running game going. And if you can't get the running game going, you can't, like, it's a chicken or the egg, and I don't know how you fix it, but they've got to start finding something. And again, when you look at what the few times in this game where they ran the ball well, even if there was a holding or whatever, it was usually when they went empty. Yep. Like they just had, and when I say, I don't mean empty, they had a back, obviously, if you're running the ball. But there is no tight end in the core or the box or whatever you want to call it, and you're forcing them to spread. And Texas was playing guys with 5-man boxes.
Yeah.
They're just a middle finger to you from a defensive standpoint.
100%. That's you. We don't believe you. We don't believe you can do this. That's wild to think about.
And the thing is, Josh, you could do it, and they should have done it. They should have done it more. Like, they should have run. Like, when they had those 5-man boxes, you should have ran the ball the way that they were. And that's the part that I'm like sitting here, and I understand everything's bad. It's effing terrible. All of that. If they come out against South Carolina and just run the ball that way, I think they can have some success. They're not going to just run for 200 yards, right? Sure. But they can run the ball somewhat effectively, and then you can sit back there and also run empty and have John Mateer just sling it around the yard. Like, that's the path forward now. And that's the part where I'm like, well, this thing's fixable. They can figure it out. They can do that. Surely they see the same thing that we're seeing on tape. We're a bunch of dummies, right? They sit there and they watch it. They're paid millions of dollars to do this. Now, if they run out there against South Carolina and they're running 12 personnel with 2 tight ends and trying to do the same shit, well then, fire everyone, because that makes no sense to me.
I want to take
back in Seth Luttrell land.
Yes.
The comparisons on the Crimson Corner, the glorious Crimson Corner on Saturday evening for Ben Arbuckle to Seth Luttrell, I think we can pump the brakes. Not quite there yet.
And that's the part, again, I understand, big season, Brent Venables' job's on the line. Like, I do think there's a part of us that all needs to, and people don't want to hear this.
It's hard to breathe.
Get it. But, like, Ben Arbuckle's 30 years old. He's never coached at this level, right? He's never, coached in a game as big as the one on Saturday. Like, obviously in this league, it's going to be extremely difficult. Let's see how he responds.
Well, things got away quickly too,
right?
Especially when you only run 4 plays in the third quarter,
right? And he got away with some of the stuff against Michigan and Auburn. They were able to find a way to combat some of the problems that they've had offensively. Texas exposed them. This is the first time that we get to see, okay, how does he respond? Because everybody else will expose him too. And so if he can adjust, which I have to assume. He's sitting there in the office today saying, okay, we can't do some of the stuff that we did in this game. So, let's see how he responds this week.
I want to, guys,
go ahead.
Just real quick. Yeah. This is just a random thought that came to me. I was just sitting there thinking about it. Do you know the last time, and it really was poignant to me when you guys were talking to him last week in the game week press conference, and he was mentioning he'd never even been to the game. Guys, the last time OU had an offensive coordinator who had not been to that game or had not, there's no reason to believe he'd ever taken part in or been around that game was Lincoln Riley in 2015 when number 10 Oklahoma got shocked by,
and they couldn't score.
Like you guys are nodding, so maybe you already had thought about this.
No, I hadn't.
You wonder, did that, again, maybe it's nothing, but it's an interesting thing because anybody who ever has been to that game the first time, it's like nothing you've ever seen. It's just a different thing. And I think that's hard for people, even football guys, a guy like Ben Arbuckle that's clearly been around football, knows the game, is a calm head, all that sort of stuff. It's easy to get trapped up in that, just wrapped up in all of that the game encompasses.
The parallels to 2015 just continue, and again, I don't think that means OU is going to go run the table here and be whatever. Like the schedule's obviously a hell of a lot different than 2015. But
you think it's harder?
Yeah, but I do think that the idea of young coordinator, inexperienced quarterback in this type of situation, I do think some of that is valid in what you saw. It just wasn't great at times.
I'm going to use this as a prop, Josh, to kind of prove my next point. This is the last thing that I have to say on the offense. From a running back standpoint, it seems like DeMarco just takes a bunch of names, throws them in a hat, and says, here, pick one. Which one do you want? What the hell? What the hell's going on with the running back situation? Jaden Ott, that experiment might be over. 1 carry for 2 yards on Saturday. Xavier Robinson, I guess, welcome to 2025. You're going to play. Torrey Blaylock, obviously the main ball carrier for Oklahoma out of the backfield with 11 carries, 47 yards.
Why not just give him all the snaps? I mean, I guess you can't theoretically give him every single snap. He's got to have a breather at some point. But at this point, he's the only guy that seems to, one, give a shit, and also to do anything productive.
When it comes to the running back situation, and we should say, we talked a little bit about it on the unofficial or the Eskridge Lexus postgame podcast. It certainly appears like maybe Javonte Barnes, who has played 4 games this year, I don't want to just throw accusations out there. It certainly doesn't seem like he's ready to play in the last 2 games. He's on the sidelines, obviously. He doesn't really carry a helmet very often. It just doesn't look like he's somebody that is preparing himself mentally or physically to get into the ball game.
Same with Taylor Tatum.
Talked about that, and same with Taylor Tatum. So now you're kind of, I guess, down 2 bodies if they're not going to be available. I just don't understand what's going on with DeMarco, just as much as I don't understand what's going on in Joe John Finley's room, although that might be a little bit more clear just in terms of just guys that can play.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Xavier, I know I talked to somebody last week kind of wondering what's going on here. And I know George knew this as well. He's fighting through something, and I think this was always kind of the goal point was he was going to be ready for this game was what was explained to me. But again, that's like the one thing that you're like, okay, I can kind of make sense of that. But guys, this is the musical chairs they played at that position ever since Eric Gray left. There's no rhyme or reason to any of it. And everybody loves to just gloss over the fact that Eric Gray was not intended to be the guy. He just kind of took that job and ran with it. And that was, again, it's just always been strange in the way it's played out. And with the play, you mentioned Jaden Ott. And, we were talking about this before we got started, guys. The play that's gotten all the social media run where he's leading out for Deion Burks and he's supposed to get on Anthony Hill. If Javonte Barnes is not redshirting, and again, maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's exactly what's happening here. He's out there. We've heard nothing about any kind of serious problem. I'm not reporting it. It's just what makes sense. And if that's not the case, why the hell would you not put your most physical blocker, and I include every position on the roster, Javonte Barnes is the most violent blocker on Oklahoma's team. Why would he not be out there just trying to get after Anthony Hill and letting Deion Burks run around him? Now, George said it correctly when we were talking. You go back and look at that play, Jaden Ott is expecting Deion Burks to come around his outside shoulder and kind of let Anthony Hill come to him. Now, when he gets there, I don't think that's going to go great for Jaden Ott, so I don't think it really changes the math on this. Jaden Ott wanted none of that. He didn't want to make that block. But at the same time, Burks cuts it inside when he wasn't supposed to. So again, it's all this stuff that keeps adding up, and everything we're talking about, guys, is just little stuff, little details that we used to watch the defense struggle with, and now the defense doesn't miss a beat on this kind of stuff. And now it's the offense where you're just like, if you'll just fix that little thing, it could change everything on this play. But it's every single play at all the different positions, something inevitably goes wrong that could have easily been avoided.
It just seems like if we want to wrap up the offense here, it just feels like the same problems at each position continue to happen over and over, no matter who the play caller is. And trust me, Ben Arbuckle has to do a better job. Seth Luttrell obviously didn't do a good job. Jeff Lebby had his flaws, but we've been talking about the running back rotation for 3 years in a row. We've been talking about the tight end group not being very good since Braden Willis left, which Joe John Finley inherited. Braden Willis, the offensive line obviously hasn't played up to expectations the last couple of years. Like, at some point you have to say, is it the play caller that's the problem, the scheme that's the problem, or is it simply the position coaches and developing and guys getting better and who's on the field and who's not? Like, that to me is like the constant with the offensive issues under Brent Venables is it's the same position groups continuing to not really do a whole lot of good.
Certainly seems like there's not a mirror in the Oklahoma locker room right now, at least on the offensive side. And with all that said, like I said at the beginning, fourth quarter, it's a one-score game before the bottom fell out.
And they're in the game. And again, I think if Mateer just plays average quarterback play, they probably have a better chance to win the game. If he hits on a couple of those plays, then we're not maybe talking about it just – I'm not saying they win the game, but – they're certainly probably getting the end zone at least once, and maybe you're talking about a little bit more optimism. So, I don't want to simplify it. Everything's got to be better, but it is one of those things where they're in the game, and a couple plays here, a couple plays there. You get a block in the back call on the punt return. Maybe you get another chance late in the game, but it's what I tweeted it this morning. You do stupid stuff, you're not going to win in this league.
Win stupid prizes for sure. Turn the ball over 3 times offensively. As you said, the punt return for the touchdown that pushed it to a 2-score game certainly plays a part. And you didn't have the better quarterback on the field as well. Arch Manning, 21-27, 166 yards on the day. Had the touchdown throw there in the third quarter. And Josh, everything kind of flipped. Beginning of the third quarter, Texas goes on an 8-minute drive to open up the second half. And after it got to 13-6, or 13-6 or 10-6, we'll try that, 10-6, it kind of had that feeling from last year where it was like, oh, God, you're down by a score now. I don't know if they can come back. That's obviously offensively, though. Defensively, though, 12 tackles for loss, 4th consecutive game. Oklahoma has double-digit tackles for loss in the game. They now have 49 over the last 4 games. Kendall Daniels with the team-high 6 tackles. 2nd career game in an Oklahoma uniform with 2 tackles for loss. Taylor Wine, maybe the most productive game of his career, young career at that, with 3 tackles for loss on Saturday. And overall, it was, I would say, a pretty good performance from a defensive perspective. Just overall, what say you on an afternoon where they were put into some bad spots, came up with some big stops, and then obviously just couldn't get off the field on third down. Texas goes 10 for 17, 59% rate on third down on Saturday.
Guys, so much of that was born in the second half because in the first half, it was just in and out. It was easy. Like it looked so crisp, and they were just where they needed to be, and they played their assignments so well. Like there was one, I believe it was on the very first possession of the game. Texas gets backed up with some penalties, and I think there was even a tackle for loss in there. And they throw a little pass out in the flat to, I think it was Wisner. Yeah. And Kendall Daniels just comes out and makes a great open field tackle, wraps him up, brings him down. And you're just like, well, okay. And as the game went on, you stopped seeing that. They just weren't – because it wasn't even about, this guy, he couldn't make the tackle. I mean, again, that was a problem. But they kept releasing guys into space. Like, it wasn't like I'm trying to force him back to my help. I'm trying to do this. It was just bad fundamentals, like knowing where your help is, knowing where whether you're trying to drive the guy to the boundary, so you just force him out of bounds, like whatever it is. There were too many instances where they just missed those opportunities to keep what ended up being a 30-yard play let it be like an 8-yard play or a 10-yard play and minimize that damage a little bit, which is something I think that's been underrated for them this year, where, okay, they got us a little bit here, but they didn't hurt us with that. Like, I thought Oklahoma's defense at times just allowed a little too much, but I don't want to paint this picture. The defense played more than well enough to win this football game. Absolutely true. And we're really good. Guys, for me, the surprise was the defensive line was good. It wasn't the overwhelming, dominant kind of wave that we saw against Auburn and Michigan, where they just had no answers for Oklahoma up front. Texas did enough to slow them down.
It certainly seemed like if you would have told me before the game that the longest pass that Arch Manning was going to have on Saturday was 24 yards, I would have said, damn, how many did OU win by?
Yeah. And same with the 16 points. I mean,
sure.
They only gave up 16 points. You can't let the drive happen there in the third quarter to start the second half. But, credit to Arch Manning. I thought he made some fantastic throws on that drive and some other drives. The other big one was, I think it was in the third quarter, OU had pinned him deep in their own end zone.
It was after the R. Mason sack with the second and 16, and you let him wrangle out of that.
Well, I think that was that after that?
Second possession of the second half.
Okay, because one of them, they started inside their own, 5.
That would have been on the a punt that had a personal foul that pushed it half the distance to the goal.
Yes, and I think they converted a third down on that one as well. And
he hit Livingstone.
Mm-hmm. And Texas ended up punting on that drive, but it wasn't from if you have them punt inside their own 10, you get the ball back at midfield. Who knows what can happen. That was one.
Certainly not get to the red zone. They didn't do that all day.
Right. But point being that the OU defense, I thought they played great. To be honest, they missed some tackles. That one was really bad by Robert Spears-Jennings. You can't give up the long drive. I get that. Texas has got some good players. I caught a lot of crap for saying Arch Manning is good. I thought he showed some tremendous arm talent. I thought he played with a lot of poise. I mean, OU got after him a few times, and he was able to escape and make a throw down the field. The same could not be said for John Mateer.
I think that the perfect example of that, and just look at the Wisner run there up the middle, they were able to run the ball.
Yeah. And Sark, I thought Sark did a really good job of designing some plays to run the ball and kind of, hide some of their weaknesses. They did a lot of stuff side to side, and it opened some stuff up, and Oklahoma just didn't do those things. And again, I thought it was a great game plan. I thought Texas came in with a much better offensive game plan than Oklahoma did.
Josh, what say you?
No, I couldn't agree more. I mean, and that was the thing where you could tell early on Sark had an idea, and then he said, well, okay, we're going to have to change this a little bit. And I think George said it really well with the lateral movement. They just started forcing OU to cover longer, to cover bigger swaths of the field, and it just and Arch, to his credit, found a lot of stuff where it wasn't. And again, he was just like you said, Eddie. His longest pass was 24 yards. He just kind of nickeled and dimed OU to death, and then boom, they'd pop a run or something like that. And again, when OU is going to score 6 points, you don't have to do that much offensively. And if you take care of the ball and value it, which Oklahoma did not, then you're going to have some opportunities. And I didn't hear Sark's comments that George mentioned earlier in the show, but he played it perfectly. He waited for OU to screw up, and OU did it for him. They did exactly what he had hoped they would do. So when I got done with Under the Hood, I put something on the board, and I was like, the things I come away with is this offensive line is disgustingly bad, and Arch Manning's a lot better than people think he is. Yeah, that Florida game, you could watch it in the second half. He grew up some there. He learned how to play under pressure. He was moving around. He made some tough throws. And more than anything, he stood in there and took some shots. And you look at Oklahoma, John Mateer, and it's not to say that John Mateer is not a tough guy or anything like that, but you can watch John get a little antsy sometimes. And I think that may be just because he's kind of a not run first, but he's a very happy runner. He'll happily take that yardage if he can take it, as to where Manning wants to stand in there until the last possible minute and deliver a throw.
The one thing I'll just say about the defense that they got to figure out, they got to get some turnovers, and especially with an offense that's struggling. And they were close a couple times on Saturday. I mean, the one sack they had, Arch, I don't know how he held on to that ball. on that play, and that could have been a huge play, but they got to figure that out. And some of it is, I think teams are playing extremely conservative. Like I think the plan from Texas was, we're not going to do that. We're not going to give them extra opportunities, and they played well. So, but Oklahoma's got to find a way to get the football back right now. And again, it doesn't need to be 3 turnovers in a game. Surely that would help, but just one in this game could have flipped it.
Turnover differential right now is a disgusting number. What are they? -7,
I think so.
I believe.
Something around there.
You're not going to win a whole lot of football games if you turn the ball over more and you're not able to force any turnovers. I mean, just point blank period, especially where this offense is at right now, Josh.
They're in the neighborhood, guys, of UTEP, Charlotte, New Mexico, Purdue, Nevada, and Florida Atlantic in turnover margin.
I don't know if there's anything
That's
you want to be.
You want to keep.
You don't want to be a part of that company with anything that I could think of. Academics, football, basketball, baseball, women's basketball, golf. Seriously, no disrespect, but my God.
When Wisconsin and Northwestern's turnover margin is looking down their nose at you, that's a problem. That's not where you want to live. So that's, guys, and at some point, like we keep saying, like, oh, it's got to happen. It's got to come. At some point, like, is it just like fluke? Like, is it really just, it's just a fluky thing? 6 games in, it kind of feels like you're just not creating turnovers, and I can't explain why.
Yeah, it's definitely hit, I don't know, like mass point of they got to do something, especially if you're not going to get any help from the offense. All right, Oklahoma moves on to South Carolina. We'll talk about it all week here on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel. Before we get out of here, in closing, special teams, Tate Sandell, 2 field goals, 41 and 42. Yet again, he performed well. Overall, it was a good product outside of the punt return.
Yeah, in the punt return, you got to have better lanes. Like, everybody's pointing to the block in the back. Yes, egregious. They missed a couple on that punt return, but Oklahoma, I mean, this was a great punt by Grayson Miller. It's exactly where you want it to be.
At the 25, right?
Yes.
75-yarder?
And right on the sideline. I mean, that was the whole goal, and they just did not play it well. And again, they had a couple block in the backs. I think that they can clean that up, but that was the kind of the dagger.
100%. And especially for an offense that you felt like couldn't get into the red zone all day, like 2 scores all of a sudden became like, okay, well, let's start thinking about what we want for dinner, which was In-N-Out, and it was delicious.
It was really good.
When you don't eat all day, and obviously neither here nor there, I'm fat, I get it. You'll probably put it in the comments. Just in terms of moving forward to South Carolina, OU's a 5.5-point favorite. I know that we had this discussion while eating on Saturday night. It was like, the hell's the line going to be? I was decently surprised that Oklahoma was a 5.5-point favorite going into Saturday. I know that we'll talk about it a bunch, but are you guys any intrigued or interested? Is it a talking point? Just see how this thing responds to adversity now.
Oh, it's massive, Eddie, because, and that's what's so fascinating to me, because Ben Arbuckle.
I know nobody wants to hear it, but the season isn't long. If you would have said at the beginning of the year, I think we all three would have agreed. 5-1, you could cook with that a little bit.
Yeah, you're exactly where you want to be. Now,
it's just the way that it
the
was.
Context matters, right? Because before the season, you thought Texas was going to be really good. They were preseason number 1.
100%.
Now coming into this, it feels like a missed opportunity, but you do have everything in front of you. And this is the first time that we get to see, how does Ben Arbuckle respond? How does he adjust his offense and the scheme and what they're doing? What players step up? How does John Mateer respond? This is the first adversity he's had at Oklahoma. And then what's on the line for Brent Venables? Because this is a game that if you lose this one, you're really in a bad spot.
You're right back to where you started the 2025.
Correct. And so you have to win this one. This feels like a game in South Carolina. I know that there was some hope that they could be a really good team, and I still think that they're a decent team. Oklahoma should win this game. Like I really believe that. And part of me thinks they could probably win by 2 scores. Like South Carolina's not playing great football right now, in my opinion. They have actually one of the worst rushing defenses in the league, so you'd think Oklahoma can figure something out.
Maybe
running
they can
the football.
Get to 50.
Yeah, South Carolina also can't run the ball, so you think Oklahoma's defense should have some success in this game. So it's a huge point. It's a huge point that I think that if they lose, all of a sudden you're talking about Brent Venables on the hot seat. If they win, everything's in front of you. You got a chance to still make a run at this.
Josh, how do you think this team's going to respond coming off of a disappointing second half, obviously?
Oh, Lord, Eddie, that's I wish I had any good answer.
I mean, well, here, let me ask you this. Is everything broken, or can it be fixed? Is there still an idea that they can get to a 9-3, maybe contend for a college football playoff? We talked about it on the postgame podcast, but if you get through this one, you obviously have Ole Miss coming up in 2 weeks, 11 a.m. kickoff. I don't know. Maybe if you can get to 7-1, I'm reopening the idea back into maybe this thing isn't effed.
Well, guys, you know how this is, especially at this level. When you win, it feels like you'll never lose again. And then when you lose, it feels like, oh, they'll never figure this out. We're a week removed from thinking like this team's got a really good shot to go to the playoff and maybe make a little noise. And now it's, well, they can't make the playoff. They're terrible. No, stop. What I'm most interested in, because I think the team has a good culture. I think we all believe, if nothing else, I probably believe that. At the same time, I've watched for years and years, and you guys have too. It takes a loss for a lot of times, in my opinion, for coaches to truly take stock of what's there and say, this doesn't work, we're scrapping that. Whether it's a player, whether it's a scheme, whatever it is. We can go back to Josiah St. John as a left tackle. We can go back. I mean, there's dozens of these things. And especially when it's a huge game that riles the fan base, there's a big part of me that thinks Ben Arbuckle's going to come out next week and you're going to see no inline tight ends. Because it doesn't work. It brings them no value. Or defensively, maybe you're going to see a little more Reggie Powers, who every time we watch him, the guy seems to make good plays. I wonder if this is okay, guys. And I've always wondered, if that's a locker room thing, where it's easy to go and tell your players, hey, man, we're going to make some changes here because of what happened last Saturday in the Cotton Bowl, rather than, hey, we're 5-0, we're top 5 in the country, we're going to make some changes now. So I think maybe that's what that is, but I'm very intrigued to see, because if OU just comes out and does more of what they've been doing, particularly on offense, okay. I think the writing's on the wall at that point, in my opinion. That's just, there's no new ideas. There's nothing that they're going to make the changes that, and again, maybe the changes don't work, but what you're doing obviously hasn't worked.
Maybe they just need a little bit of some plane malfunction on the way out to South Carolina. That's what happened in 2015. They went up to Kansas State and won 55-0.
I don't think they're going to do that on Saturday against South Carolina. But I want to say in closing, I do think the quarterback is going to play better. I don't think Mateer will play that bad again. Now you got to see, can he practice this week? I think that's a huge question. He needs to get some reps in practice. Is he healthy? Does his hand feel all right? I know Brent said yesterday on his show, no setbacks. He feels fine. He didn't further injure the hand despite taking some big hits. So you just have to imagine if he plays better, I think Oklahoma's got a shot to win some of these games and maybe scrap their way to a 9-3.
We shall see. And we'll talk about it. Either way, it goes down on Saturday in Columbia. Until then, we will be back here on Tuesday for a William and Lauren practice report. Going to hear from Brent Venables. Going to hear from Ben Arbuckle on Tuesday afternoon. We're obviously going to talk to players on Monday evening. Hopefully, John Mateer is going to be one of those guys that we talk to, see what he saw after, obviously going back and looking at it. I know that we talked to Kobe McKenzie this morning on the radio, and it's certainly saying all the right things, just as much as they did on the podium on Saturday night. You got to bounce back, though, or it could get really dark really fast. Not here, just in general, but over there at the Switzer Center, where the schedule is only getting tougher from here on out. All right. I think that was therapeutic. I don't know. I kind of want to still KMS. All right. Josh McCuistion, George Stoya. I'm Eddie Radosevich. There it is. A kind of not blustery, but just overcast day. It's a gloomy day in Dortmund, and I think that should be a perfect setup.
We should just have a live shot of Josh in his office
in there
in the studio at all times.
Kind of has like the Wizard of Oz feel. But
it
it's
does.
The Norman of Oz. Yeah. All right. We will talk to you next time here on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel.